I'm just going to scoop out the seeds. So you only need half the butternut squash, and that's going to go in the oven. You want to roast it until it's tender. Place the squash into a preheated oven at 180 degrees Fahrenheit. It should take roughly 45 to 50 minutes. So you know when the butternut squash is done, it looks cooked, and it is basically tender, soft. I'm just going to scoop out the flesh and pop it in my bowl. It's all mushy. You want it like a puree, no big lumps basically. Before I forget, I'm going to melt my butter. Now with my butternut squash, I'm going to add all my wet ingredients. I have my milk. It's going to go in. My buttermilk. This is where it's handy to have a really big bowl to make it in. Otherwise you make a mess. And then 2 eggs. Alright, melted butter. I'm going to add almost all of it. I need to save a little bit for my waffle pan. Mix that in. Right, wet ingredients done. Now it's just about mixing the dry ingredients together. Okay, so just some plain flour, nothing fancy. Bit of baking powder, just help the waffles rise. Dusting of cinnamon, and a generous pinch of salt. I'll just give that a little mix. And then we just combine everything together. Don't want to overmix the batter, because if you overmix it then you develop the gluten and then you end up with rubbery waffles. And who wants rubbery waffles? Right, I'm going to let this rest for about 20 minutes or so, just so the batter settles and makes for a better waffle. So, while that's resting, I'm going to make a few toppings. I'm going to use those amazing tomatoes I picked up. I always think it's best to work with seasonal ingredients. It means you don't have to do so much work in the kitchen. When they're in season, tasty, juicy, there's really not much to do. You let the ingredients do the work for you. Some salt, a good glug of olive oil, some parsley too. And we'll just let that sit until we need them. I'm just going to put the waffle iron on the fire so it heats up. While the waffle iron is heating up, I'm going to do a sweet topping, which is literally going to be some whipped cream with cloudberry jam. Now the trick to whipping cream is make sure your cream's really cold and have a cold bowl too. This is where I get my daily workout. Cream contains tiny globules of fat, which are solid when the cream is cold, and these support the air bubbles, resulting in a fluffier and airier cream. You just want some soft peaks, nothing too stiff, otherwise you'll be making butter. I'm going to pop that back in the fridge until I need it. And now I can make some waffles. A little bit of butter. So it's important to butter your waffle iron. Plenty of butter. If you don't have a waffle iron, you could use the same batter to make small round pancakes in a frying pan. And wait for the magic to happen. Fingers crossed. Yeah, it's not looking bad. You can see the heat's a bit uneven because it's a bit darker on the backside. A couple more minutes and it should be done. This is where you can't be impatient, because if you're impatient, what happens is the waffle is still sticking in the pan. It's done when it doesn't stick anymore. Oh, I think this waffle's done. This is where the factory line begins. Grease up again. Okay, 2 waffles ready to go. You can really top them with anything you fancy. That's the joy of it. Sweet, savoury, or whatever you find in the fridge. A little fridge forage is always good. Crispy bacon, can't go wrong with that. Just to finish off, a touch of parsley. There you go. Waffle 1. For the sweet one, a generous cloud of whipped cream. And a little bit of cloudberry jam. Cloudberry jam is made from a tart aromatic berry which looks similar to a small yellow raspberry. It's mainly found in the Swedish marshlands. If you can't get hold of cloudberry jam, you can easily replace it with raspberry or any jam you prefer. And there you have it, butternut squash waffles with 2 little toppings.